Okay, so pre-shade, base coat, detail colors, light wash, a little bit of dry brushing over the top after that to repop some of the details back in. Dry brushing, you typically use a shade that is a little lighter than your base color, flat white, but in some areas where I dry brush, I actually use my original base coat shade, just because I wanted a little bit, the color blended back a little bit more to what it looked like originally. Anyway, let's talk about some of the battle damage effects I was able to achieve. Starting with this, the black streaky areas right here, and then there's these little single point burn marks. These are what I found in the research books that I have. I collected several. And the thing that's really nice about the 32-inch Falcon is it's well documented in terms of photography. And of the three main research books I have, I was able to find different angles of the ship. I also went to the www.foxim.de site. It's a German science fiction modeling site. They've got some of the best photo documentation I have ever seen on the 32-inch Falcon from what was on display at a museum recently. And they cover it from angles that I've never seen. Using all those references helped me to come up with something that looked pretty dang close to studio model in terms of its appearance. But anyway, for these black scrapes that you see on the hull, first thing I tried was using a cordless Dremel tool, and using that in conjunction with engraving bits. This is a large engraving bit. This is larger than what I use for the Falcon, but I'm showcasing it here because it's a little easier to see. They make about 4 sizes of these. And my original plan was to just basically kind of scrape the paint back to the original black base coat. Although in the process I actually went back to the original black the original gray plastic, and I had to touch it up. Well, for touch-ups, I incorporate a couple of clever little cheats, especially in black, and that are the Sigma Micron marker paint pigment pens. You can find these at Hobby Lobby or other really good quality art stores. The one on the bottom is a 0.1 tip, the one on top is a 0.05. 0.05s are typically what I like to use because they're so tiny. And just basically I went in and recolored the damage areas there. Also did some other areas on top of the turret. And that in conjunction with the paint scrapes and then some pastel chalk weathering got an appearance that looked very close to what it did on the actual studio models. Okay, turning it around to the other side, we get to one area that references show with obvious damage on all the Falcon models that I've seen. I call them the soldering iron burn marks. And the reason why I call them that is it looks like all the studio modelers did was took a hot soldering iron and just poked holes through the surface of the model that they built. As a result, you see these open craters going to the inside of the hull. When I decided to represent that on my model, I didn't actually thin the plastic on the backside and punch a complete hole through. I just wanted some dented craters there because I felt it looked better than the obvious model appearance of what the Falcon Studio model had. So my solution for that was to take the big tip on the Dremel and first thing I did was using one of my art books. I came up with printed out a picture, used it to make a photo frisket template, and applied that template right over the model. And I did the battle damage here after I put the paint down. Reason why I did that is because, well, battle damage, you figure, comes after the paint. Other reason being, too, is I felt it wouldn't look so bad if I screwed it up at this stage than it would if I screwed it up when I was building it, and then I'd go, oh crap, I screwed it up. Then I'll put it away for a couple of months and never touch it. So went in with the little ball engraver tip and carved out the little holes here, 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 here. I also used the engraver tip to kind of scrape the paint in several panels, just like what the studio model had. Some of them I was able to nick down just to the gray base coat. Other ones I went a little further because they wanted a little bit more of a black color, and that's when I used the Micron paint pen to do those little areas in black. So that's one area the damage can be added pretty easily to. And the Dremel that I like to use, this little guy, the cordless Mini-Mite, even at their high rate of speed, they don't spin very fast, and typically they don't end up melting the plastic, provided you don't leave it in contact with the plastic for too long. It's got 2 speeds, low and high. It certainly goes, even on its highest speed, it's certainly slower than the slowest speed on my corded Dremel. And the Mini-Mite is pretty much tailor-made for this type of application. Turning to the bottom, there's a few other areas of blast damage that I added. The primary ones I want to focus on, though, are these big scrapes right here. I believe Star Wars folklore has it that when Lando Calrissian had the Falcon, supposedly some pirate guy crashed into a ship and put these 2 scars on the bottom of the ship. It's a good backstory. Lucas could have any number of reasons for why they wanted them there. But again, using the cordless Dremel Mini-Mite, using one of the fine tips, I basically gouged little chunks out to represent a battle damage scrape area, and keeping the speed on low, so you just do little gouges and picks. One of the things I did for this one is I actually used a straight edge to guide me, because I wanted to make sure that this area was nice and straight when I applied it. Same thing for the smaller one. The smaller one is not gouged out as deep as this one is. And again, I did these after the main base coat was down. Use the Sigma Micron pen again to color in the black areas. Also used a little bit of a dark wash in those areas. Had to go really pinpoint with it because I didn't want it to stain the areas of the paneling. Okay, for applying the small pastel streaks, the microbrush tools that you can find are available from a company called microbrush.com. These packages I cut down so I could stick them in my toolbox a little more easily. Let me show you an example of an individual one. This is a microbrush fine. They make them in 4 main sizes. The primary ones I use are the green regular, the yellow fine, and then the white super fine. They've got a little bulb on the end, kind of like a Q-tip, but they're much finer. Plus, also the fuzzy area doesn't shed. So, unlike a Q-tip where you might get little strings and strands, the microbrush applicators work a lot better. Plus, also, the big thing I don't like about Q-tips, Q-tips are good for some applications, but they apply a lot of pastel chalk. These are much smaller, so you can actually generate streaks that are much finer for the size of the model. If I was doing this studio scale, I might be using Q-tips, or I might be using an airbrush to apply the streaks, but I found that applying pastels with microbrushes works a lot better. There are a couple areas on the model too, other than those main big streaks, where I applied some additional damage. There's like a little crater point right here, a little bit of a zing right on the corridor here. Carefully move the camera. On the back side behind this piece, there's like 3 little marks. Looks like a triple laser blast hit there or something. But all the little bits of weathering I added are based on all the reference photos I have. And I mean, there are some people that do still complain that FineMolds made some errors, so it's not 100% perfect, blah, 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 blah. All I say is, okay, maybe so, but when you get the thing built, it looks a lot better than any other Falcon I've ever seen. And I've heard of guys saying, okay, I'm going to do modifications. I'll fix some of these issues. Well, not one of those I have that I have heard of that was being fixed has ever been finished, to my knowledge. Well, so there you have it. One Fine Molds Millennium Falcon. These kits are expensive, but in my opinion, they are worth it. They build really nice out of the box. Minor modifications, or even major ones, if you really want to go to the trouble of fixing the infamous mandible issue, where they're supposed to angle in just a little bit more on the inside, or not. This is a good kit, and all things considered, it's a rather easy kit to build. One thing I will point out too, one thing that helped me very well when I was building it is proper glue selection. The glue I use for pretty much almost all of my styrene kits is Ambroid Pro Weld. It's a liquid solvent glue, pretty fast acting. Thing I like about it is it actually welds plastic pieces into one, and it came in really handy for putting all this little stuff back here. I mean, you can... super glue could be used, but the problem with super glue is it's brittle, and parts can flex off, parts can get lost. Thankfully on this model I only lost a grand total of 1 part. Every other one that I popped off temporarily I was able to find. But anyway, this is a good kit. Hopefully this will give you some ideas for building. Thank you for watching.